Chapter 6. The Light of Truth, Breaking Through. Glimpses and Glimmers. Personal Journal Entry. I have been given a secret of secrets, surely the most valuable thing in my world. It is said that kings would give their kingdoms to know it, but they can neither find it nor discover anyone to tell them what it is. Dear God, it has found me. Of all the people in the world, thank you. Thank you, Father of light and life. The body was ailing, yet at exactly the right time this morning, Laurel called, bringing a glimpse onto the scene. The glimpse is an elixir of God. It did the good work. If ever I have wondered about proclaiming the power of our glimpses and glimmers, that wonder was dispelled for the 10,000th time this morning, when that gentle lady spoke of her new insights into this and that. The this and that was just what this body needed. It responded immediately, and I heard myself laughing with Laurel. Yes, yes, it is a marvel of marvels. I take the child's secret of the glimpse and, without regret, throw the lesser things away. Let him who has ears to hear. Evening talk on the riverbank. Middle of a conversation by the campfire. Samuel speaking. A marvel happens in our affairs. A healing, say. Haven't you wondered what does the good work? Haven't you wondered exactly what happened or what caused it? Oh, we know that God is the source of all such good things, but exactly how? If we knew precisely what to look for, wouldn't that be a help? Of course. But we are usually looking for the specific healing, the answer to our perceived need for the moment. And if that need is met, we feel we've been successful in our study and prayer. It comes as a surprise to us all, but the healing isn't the point. Listen, it is the glimpse that does the work. I don't know why that fact dawns on us so slowly. We seem to take forever to understand that the glimpses of light inevitably come with healing on their wings. It is the glimpse itself that does the work in this time, space, place of things. More, the glimpse is the work. It doesn't come merely to do for us, but to be us. Why are we seekers of truth so slow to put our finger directly on the agent? We know God does the good work, but the specific agent, the specific event, goes unnoticed until something special happens. This very moment in our experience is something special happening. So keep listening carefully. For years I worked and struggled, pondered and pined to know the truth. I read voraciously to catch the glimpses and glimmers. But the vital connection that was absolutely essential eluded me. That is, I didn't understand it was the glimpse itself that came through as Godhead's own truth entering this scene I am to brighten and enliven it. Once upon a time, I wanted the glimpse to bring information to this old sense of myself and work a wonder for it. Hear this softly now. The glimpse doesn't just bring the truth like a messenger. The glimpse is the truth. The glimpse is the light. The glimpse is our genuine selfhood emerging. The value of the glimpse itself eludes everyone until precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, slowly it dawns. Many never make the connection, not even ministers and practitioners, who are working to teach and heal their worlds. Most remain unaware that it is the glimpse of light that matters and does the work in the phenomenal world. So what is the big deal here? We have intuitively known something good happens as we search and study our Bibles and books. That's why we study so expectantly. Yet, somehow a veil hangs between the glimpse and the inner knowledge that it is the glimpse itself that matters and has come to us for a specific healing purpose of its own. What are you saying, Bill? All day we have been talking about the child within. Now you seem to have changed course. We haven't left the child at all. Tonight we are examining the child in even more detail. Let me try again. The glimpse of light does the work. The glimpse has the value, and nothing else in all this human experience is half so real as that instant of insight. That's what I mean here. That glimpse of the light of Godhead breaking into this consciousness of tangibility, into this awareness of space and time. The glimpse is the child stirring within. The glimpse doesn't merely come from the child, it is the child of us. Perhaps my initial inability to fully understand this had to do with the methods of instruction in my school days, or the way I was taught to comprehend things sequentially in a three-dimensional world. Maybe it was the way intellectual comprehension follows spiritual revelation, the way revelation precedes understanding. The glimpse of light precedes the tangible seen, even though we are not conscious of that. Most definitely, my inability to understand had much to do with my linear sense of time. People often say they have some sense of the truth intellectually straight, but haven't felt it in their hearts yet. This usually means that they are, as I was then, trying to catch a glimpse along some specific line of the heart's desire of the moment, about money or health or something. Well, I don't know that we can determine exactly what the glimpse is to be about, but I am absolutely certain the glimpse itself is the real, breaking into this limited dimension of human thought. And here, in this tangible sense of things, we need a continuing flow of glimpses. Never mind whether they concern one's current questions or clear up intellectual points about religion and metaphysics, or heal a problem at the moment. Never mind that. Go for the glimpse. The glimpse is the child of ourself coming through. The child comes with feelings, yes, but as insights of light we can confirm in the world. Yes, the glimpse is the real coming into our affairs, and it is the glimpse that counts, not our human experience. Pause to stir the fire and watch the sparks fly upward. Yes, I am seeing and hearing something. Good. Now listen gently. What needs are to be met by the glimpse, or what happens to us because of the glimpse, is not as important as the glimpse itself. The glimpse is it. It is the child identity coming through. Light comes as infinitely more than human thinking imagines. The dual nature of light and its glimpses. Next, I would like to explain that our glimpses come to us, a concession to words, from two directions, just as the tree's sustenance comes from two directions. One glimpse comes directly from light, like sunshine touching the leaves of the tree. The other glimpse comes from the world, just as the tree draws nourishment through its roots. The food arriving at the roots is essentially indirect or delayed light. Let me say this better. Once the wonder of glimpses is understood, it isn't long until we've examined them carefully enough to see that they come from two seemingly separate sources. First, there is the direct glimpse, as when we're writing in our journal, or when an answer comes out of the blue from not thinking. Then there is the indirect glimpses, as when we see the beauty of a galloping horse, or the grace of a new rose in the garden, or the tender smile of a stranger. One glimpse is direct, the other indirect, as if delayed in the world's time while it developed for the receptive awareness to see. I am not able to make a distinction between the values of these differing sources of light. The glimpses of an insight are wonderful no matter how they come. They do their good thing every time. They bring health and unseen blessings each time they arrive. Those that are triggered from the sights and sounds of the earth are like sunlight dappling the surface of a crystal lake. These are the ones the artists and the sensitive see. We grow accustomed to looking for these insights from the earth, but are not so conscious of those that come directly without delay of time. However, glimpses arrive in both ways, and their origin is the same light beyond ordinary light. This is in part what Jesus meant when he said that the stones would minister unto us. Cleave a piece of wood, I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. Yet, to make this still clearer, let me mention how these two sources of light become apparent quickly when we write. Journal tending, like any meditative or contemplative activity, essentially frees the head from the ordinary sensory input, which can be overwhelming in the world these days. Attention reduced to words or non-words alone allows the direct glimpse to tiptoe in, sometimes thunder in, so we can be conscious of it. Very often it comes from information completely unrelated to the material we're writing about in the journal. It may be the answer to a question we had asked ourselves 10 years earlier about another matter entirely, or it can come directly as the answer to no question we had asked at all. But in this writing mode, light also comes indirectly as the simple consequence of single-mindedly following a line of thought or searching for the right word to use. This indirect light becomes plainly apparent as we write, because later we can go back to examine these words and can't believe we have written them. For me, writing induced a state of mind that nothing else did. Meditation or contemplation were too inactive for me, too passive, too much an escape, too little an involvement with understanding the tangible scene. The meditative or contemplative state seemed a little like the child letting go the hands of his mother and father in a crowd to try to go it alone. We will talk about this tomorrow. Now, I have learned that the two apparent sources of the glimpse, one direct, non-moving, the other delayed in time, are a single source, light of the ineffable. Science's discovery of holography came to me as a wonderfully brilliant confirmation of this insight about light. I knew of this before I knew anything about holography, or that tangibility was holographic in nature. What happens in a moment of illumination involves moving back in time beyond the delayed light of the mountain, the tree, the river, the scene, to the non-moving, direct light behind it. One would like for this directness to be the mode of perception all the time, but that would be too much to bear for very long in linear time. And listen. It is self-defeating to make such seeing the goal of our pursuit of truth. Rather, it is enough just to know beyond doubt that the light beyond light exists as the source of everything, and that we are not bound to a finite time or to a limited point in space to perceive it. I was waylaid much too long striving to have the mystical experience, as though that were an accomplishment to be attained before the truth was true. Better to let go the sense of an identity who can't see the light and accept the fact that awareness, life, is the light of life, God's knowledge happening in linear time. As one lets go, it becomes natural to have more glimpses. They come with a greater strength and regularity, provided we know what to do with them when they arrive. That's the subject the seekers and teachers of truth know so little about. It takes time to learn that. Among many things I do with my glimpses, it is to look for their confirmation out in the tangible world of people, places, and things. Direct glimpses are precursors of knowledge, breaking through into the community of mankind. Presently, my glimpses tell me that a new clock is soon to begin ticking in the guts of people everywhere. A sound that can't be turned off, a grind that won't go away, an itch that can't be scratched by ordinary means. I anticipate seeing these insights confirmed as good in the affairs of men. Yet, this is a time to withdraw from the world and think of other things. But there is a time to come back and see the mountain again, and commence to do on the mountain what that seeing commands. Simplicity comes. From out of the complexity of pure science and absolute metaphysics comes the most marvelous simplicities. For me, metaphysical absoluteness was apparently necessary to break out into knowing. I don't know if it's necessary for my others to struggle as I did, but others don't need to suffer in those same areas if they will believe the simplicities I've found and then make them their own. That is, if they will put them to the test and live them for themselves. Those glimpses that come with contemplation, meditation, and study, or on the gentle evening breeze, are the spirit of the unknowable. They are the word that proceedeth from the mouth of the Lord, as it is put in biblical language. They are essential for our inner growth and awakening. What we actually need in this human scheme of things begins with those blips of inner light, not the glimpses other people have, but the ones we have for ourselves. Those glimpses come from the center of ourself, from the child, the real identity of us, he who was before he came into being. About our needs in the world. Suppose the country rose thinks it needs a certain chemical. It meditates and prays and listens to the revivalists on the wind. But when the sun breaks through, the sunshine brings what is necessary to help the plant absorb all needed chemicals and do all else for the plant's ongoingness, things of which the plant has no conscious knowledge. Let us get this straight. The glimpses of truth are the most meaningful things in our affairs. They come with whatever we actually need for the long haul in time and space, if not for the moment. And they come with whatever the physical body of us needs, whether we are conscious of the need or not. When the glimpse comes, healing that we aren't yet capable of recognizing is happening, albeit not necessarily the healing we humanly want. Now, hear this too. We don't sit about and wait until we need the light before we act in this human scene of things. That's pretty much the way the world does it. Rather, we keep doing those things necessary to see the light of life in our affairs. We keep at the work of living the simple equation, living the truth, as a gardener keeps at his work, and our garden prospers in the light. Not long ago, a lady was here, and I asked if she felt she had made spiritual progress during the past year. She said, "Definitely not. I've made no progress at all, spiritual or otherwise. My life is falling apart, and that's why I'm here." She said she couldn't remember the last time she had had a moment of insight. The world's disintegration has already set in if we are not regularly catching more glimpses of truth. If we haven't perceived one in recent days, we're headed for human trouble. But to have glimpses of truth regularly does not mean that one lives forever without an apparent decline of the body in the passage of years. If the glimpses are still coming, we are laying up treasures where moth doth not corrupt, and our worldly affairs do not turn into an anchor around our necks. If new insights are not coming, we're headed in the wrong direction. If they are coming, we savor them, examine them, and remember them in the greatest possible detail. That's why we keep the journal. The light of the glimpse is bringing so much more than we think we need. Another night around the campfire. What heals? The glimpse of light. What does the good work? The light. No difference between glimpses and glimmers, and no matter if they are spelled with a capital or not. What do I do when someone comes to me for help? I give them one of my glimpses and tell him to give one of his to someone else. If he hears mine and gives one of his own, he moves toward tangible health that moment, and both of us soon have more glimpses to give. That is a significant part of the grand equation, a simplicity beyond words, and it works wonders greater than I can tell. It does more than simply heal this or that. It benefits the entire world. How is it possible for a glimpse of truth here on the riverbank to do such an enormous thing as to help all mankind? It is possible because the world and all mankind are subjective. Within this awareness we are. We are given dominion over the subjective world that we have come to understand, find guiltless, loose, and let go. This world is ours to tend, as surely as a gardener tends his flowers. Our garden needs a continuing flow of light, and that light comes as our inflowing bits and pieces of insight. We are to give those glimpses to our world as we receive them, live them, comprehend them, and confirm them. That is part of the mystery of the equation. No one in metaphysics has written of the child yet, or the equation and its balance. I may never publish these words, but at the moment it appears that task has been given me to do. Just because, finally, humanity is on the edge of a willingness to understand what lies beyond intellectualism. Mankind really wants to know how to live his intellectualism intelligently without destroying civilization in the process. Metaphysicians have nothing in their literature about the child or the equation. Metaphysics includes the child's way to think, which is subjectively, but very little about the child's way to live and act for mankind. In these final days of our human experience, it is essential that we get acquainted with the rest of these three marvels. There is a true measure of progress and success. The only measure of real success in all the world is whether or not one is coming to perceive more truth. No one knows this better than we do, each of us individually. And we know whether or not we've had a new light in recent days. No one else can tell us more about this personal progress than we can tell ourselves. It is our inmost business. But if we haven't been seeing ever more light, we haven't been making progress, and we are sinking into the quagmire of Dashan. Once recognized a glimpse for what it is, the child within knows there are more glimpses to be seen, experienced, lived, and celebrated. More, we know those glimpses offer new perspectives of old views. They tell us more nearly how things really are. They brighten and enliven our affairs. But most of all, those glimpses come with healing on their wings, reviving the child within. With each bit of light, we are more the child and less the climber. Gentle listener, this is what you have come here for. There is something one can do to begin having those wonderful glimpses of truth again. We will talk about that around tomorrow's campfire. Personal journal entry. In helplessness, I try mightily to shake the gates of heaven and am finally brought one way or another to stop and give up. In helplessness, I am forced to stop everything and just be. Then, the more I be, the more the answers come to be understood. Thence, to be questions no more nor answers. And then I know what to do with the answers, those blessed glimpses and glimmers. At first, this seems to be another paradox, but it isn't. Getting still lets the water settle, and then one begins to see things that he couldn't see when the water was ruffled by trying so hard to catch an answer. I get still, and the answers come. I get still, and this awareness is perceived to be the knowing of God. But I am so slow getting still because the knowing wants to be the knower, as though it had a mind of its own. The known is within the knowing, but the immanent knower transcends it. And I am so slow being humble enough to admit that. I keep the water stirred, trying to be the knower, and to know what the knower knows. Listen, heart of me. I have faced awful situations from which there was no apparent escape. I shook and pounded the gates of heaven, lamenting the hopelessness of life, wondering why I was born and what life was about. The more I wagged my head, the worse I felt, until the anguish forced me to sit down in helplessness and throw myself on the mercy of something. That was when I put myself where I have always been, back into the capable hands of the one I am. Oh, you say I don't understand that life is not threatened and cannot be intimidated. That I don't see the absolute fact that God, life, is all in all, or if I did, I wouldn't even speak of the appearance of life being threatened. Oh, yes, I do see that God is all in all. I am not less certain about that than in the first days of my first discovery. I am only less adamant in my choice of words. Why? To be understood. By whom? By everyone who is myself. Another personal journal entry. The end of the year is a time to stop and take stock of the year just past and see if any real progress has taken place. If we have seen more truth during the year and have seen evidence that truth is at work in our affairs, we know very well progress has taken place. We answer affirmatively, even if other things have fallen apart. More, we know from whence that progress has come. With all my heart, I want those who may read the words of this old journal to receive a tangible measure of hope, a glimpse of the child's light. If so, they will be on their way. They will surely be on their way. Once the light has found us, it doesn't let us go until it has blessed us fully.